Hello and welcome to QETV Live show with your host, Miss H. We have an exciting show for you today. I know you said that last week, and it was true. Every week there is an exciting show. You know why? Because every week I get the opportunity to meet some amazing, exciting, and people that have purpose and who have dreams, visions, and goals and want to share those stories and those products or those services with you. So every week I come to you with great content. So like always, I promise, I have some exciting content for you today. I have a special guest in my audience today. She's right here, a local author from the DMV, Dr. Beth Hawkins. She's the author of Mommy, Am I Pretty? Notice that's a question. And I want you to stay tuned because we're going to answer that for you, okay? But before we do, like always, I promise you, QETV Live, our mission is to bridge information and inspiration for everyday life. Yes, we want to bring inspiration. We want to bring hope every single week because we have so much going on in today's world that we need hope for everyday life. We need that inspiration. We need to push people into their purpose. We need information. What's going on in your neighborhood? What's going on in your community? What's going around next door around you? We need to know. And we need to bring people on that will inform you, inspire you for everyday life. And like always, I have a faith builder for you today. And I want to begin that faith builder. The information that I want to bring to you from our faith building exercise today is called Our True Image. Because one of the ways in which we're going to answer that question for you as we interview Dr. Dawson is to realize we need a foundation. And as always, I have to give you truth. And that truth is coming from the Bible, in which that's where I get all my foundational truth from. And we're going to go back to Genesis, the foundation. Genesis 1:26. 1:26 declares that, and God said, let us make man in our image after our likeness, and let them have dominion over all the fish, the sea, over the fowl of the air, over the cattle, over everything that creep on the earth. So God said, let us make man in our image, he said our, the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, in our likeness and in our image. So first of all, in order for you to know your true image and true identity, you need to know from whence you were born, from where you came from, how you were created. You were not evolved from just matter. You did not evolve from an ape. The animal kingdom is a totally different species from you. Totally different. You're made in the image and likeness of God. You have a spirit, just like God is a spirit. So again, understanding our faith builder, your true image, once you get a hold of that, and it took me a long time to understand that, but once you get a true foundation, first of all, where your true image come from, that builds a foundation that you can build upon and that you can have confidence in who you are because you came from someone. The next verse that I want to read from you, not only were you made in his image and in his likeness, he also put his stamp of approval on you. Verse 1:31 says, and God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. Not just good, but he called it very good, like, mwah, I just love what I just created. He put that signet on it, that stamp of approval. So think about it on a bad day or on a day where someone just made you feel like you were nothing. Just think about, you know what? I'm made in God's image. I'm made after his likeness. And not only that, I'm not just anyone. He said I was made, and then he'd turn around and say, and it was very good. So everything that God created, he called it very good. He didn't stop there. Again, I'm just building your faith, building that foundation for you to stand on. So when that question is asked of you, am I? Can I? Will I? Should I? You should be able to confidently answer those questions. And as we move on, we're going to tell you how to answer those questions. Another beautiful passage that we have that I want to share with you is Psalms 138 and 14. I will praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. So again, here you are, made in his image, made in his likeness. He said you were created very good. And not only that, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. Think about a beautiful piece of art. And you see that piece of art and you go, wow, who created that? Who made that? And someone give you the name of the artist and you says, wow, that's beautiful. Or you see a beautiful, well-crafted piece of work in a museum and you call it, wow, that's a very good piece. Well, let's go beyond that. Art is made by a person. Anything that's made is made by a person. But you were not made by a person. You were made by God himself. So you are fearfully and wonderfully made. Aren't you excited about that? That's how exciting I want you to get, because we're going to answer that in the show. But here's the other thing that I want to add to that piece. What we need to do is understand that from a very foundational age. And some of us didn't get that when we were little. So we had to grow up not knowing who we were. And it took time to understand that. And you went through a lot of turmoil in your life because you questioned your identity, you questioned your purpose, you questioned who you were. And that brought a lot of low self-esteem, that brought low confidence, and you did not move in the ability that you could have moved in. But now that you're aware of that, look at how you're growing and glowing. But here's what I want you to recognize today. It was God's will from the beginning of time that we understand that principle. And you know who he put that responsibility on? Parents. Everyone that's created. Once God created you and he breathed into Adam and Eve the breath of life, he told them to go and multiply. And he told them to now populate, circulate, and regrow the earth with the same seed in which they were made of. So it was their responsibility to train their children to grow up and to understand from whence they came. So moms, dad, and there's no one born alive, not humans, that did not get into this earth realm without a mom and a dad. So whether you're together or you're separated, you still have a God-given responsibility to teach that foundational truth, that you were made to teach your children. You're made in the image and likeness of God. And you know, and that's what builds confidence. And that's what me and my husband endeavor to do with our children and with our grandchildren. I miss my husband today. We usually do a segment on Papa and Grand for the grandkids, because we're building that confidence in our grandchildren to show them early, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. Because here's the key before I go on my station break. If you don't get it into them when they're young, and you don't help them to understand it, anyone can come along. Anyone can come along and reshape their thinking and their mind while they're young, and it can be bent in a different direction. And see, God knew that principle. He knew that. Think about what happened in the Garden of Eden, that the enemy came along and made Eve question the integrity of God's word. Did God really say that? And that question is still being asked today in our children, on the streets, in our neighborhood, at school, on our job. Are you really? Can you? Will you? See, those questions are still being asked. And if you don't have the answer to them, little by little, when a seed of lies start getting planted, it will grow into a field, a harvest of a crop that you don't want. And if you really can trace back any adult and all the turmoil they had in their life, you can trace it back to their childhood. And you can see how they were bent, how they were molded, and how they were shaped. So again, as we move forward in today's show, I told you it's exciting. It will be rewarding. So right now, what I want you to do, go call someone. Get on your social media, whether you text, email, Instagram, YouTube, it doesn't matter, LinkedIn, call someone, share this venue with someone, voxwave.com. Go on YouTube, subscribe to VoxWave, tune in. We are live here. QETV is live right now here from 1:30 to 2:30 every Thursday. But today is a special show. You don't want to miss this show. So right now, we're going to go on a station break, and we will be back.
Like smooth jazz? Great. Horn of Plenty, Harvest Harmony from saxophonist Travis Bridges. Smooth jazz and all the sax you'll ever need. Available at travisbridges.com. 786-487-7338. Horn of Plenty from Travis Bridges. All the sax you'll ever need.
Hello, welcome back to QET Live Show with your host, Miss H. Like I promised, I am so thankful that you have tuned in today to watch us. If you are just tuning in at the beginning of the show, I stated that our true identity, our true image is important. That helps us to build a foundation, and that segue into my guest today. In the studio today, I have with me Dr. Beth K. Hawkins.
Yes.
Thank you, Beth, for coming on the show with me today. I'm really excited to hear about your book. It's a book that's, I know you're a children's author,
Yes.
but I'm going to be honest with you. It says the word mommy, but we still, all of us, even in our 30s, 40s, 50s, some of us still call our moms mommy.
Yes.
So one of my daughters still call me mommy.
Okay.
But at the same time, you may not use the phrase mommy, but that is still a question among a lot of people today. Am I pretty? So before I take off and talk about your book, because it's an exciting title, I want you to introduce yourself to the audience and tell us who you are and what it is that you do.
Okay. Well, I'm Beth Kara Dawkins. I am originally from North Carolina, and I've been in the DMV area for about 10 years now. I'm a professor of early childhood education and elementary education, so I teach people to go out and teach young children. And this is actually my second children's book, because my purpose in life, in addition to being an educator, is to supporting children who have traditionally been underrepresented or marginalized. Yes, so is that?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
And I just heard that you said a key word, North Carolina.
Yes, North Carolina,
Oh,
a small
well,
town called Forest City.
Forest City, where
Yes.
is that
It's
in North Carolina?
It's near Shelby, near Asheville.
I know where you're talking about, because
Oh.
guess what? You're truly is from North Carolina.
Oh, wow.
Yes,
Okay,
I'm
I didn't
from
know
North
that.
Carolina.
What part?
I'm near Fayetteville, North Carolina, a
Okay.
small town, Scotland County,
Okay.
Laurinburg. So Laurinburg is in the house. I have a sister. If you are watching me, call in and represent North Carolina today. So we are Carolina girls.
Yes.
There's that Southern hospitality I grew up with, and you know, that love and that care. So I
Yeah.
can feel your spirit.
Yeah, I knew it was something about you.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
So North Carolina. So welcome to the DMV. But
you.
that is an exciting field to be in. And by the way, thank you for your service and being a teacher, because I truly feel that teachers are not compensated the way they should be.
Yes.
From the time, since time has began. I really feel that teachers should be among the highest paid, because they are the ones who help mold and shape the lives of our children, and have molded and shaped our lives. I mean, think about it. I can remember my first grade teacher to this day,
Yes.
Miss Robinson. I remember it because she was impactful for me. I can also remember some teachers that were not very impactful
Yes,
to me.
that's
So
true.
teachers do help shape. So tell me, give me an experience as an educator, why you decided to go into the field of education.
Well, I've always known that I wanted to work with young children.
Okay.
That's where my heart is. That's my passion. We early childhood educators provide the foundation for children in many different areas, not just academics, but for how we treat people, how we respect people, how we interact with people,
Okay.
how we take care of ourselves, how we view the world. So, yeah, I've always enjoyed working with young children, and I love their inspiration and how they're just so passionate, and they want to soak up everything that you have to say. They're very respectful, and I love seeing the growth. You know, at the beginning of the year, they come in, and you can see so much growth, even not, during the middle of the school year, like maybe at the Christmas break. Their language has developed. They've matured. Yes, so.
Is there a certain age that you prefer to work with in early childhood education?
Yeah, I've taught pre-K, which is age 4, and ages 5 and 6. So I like the young children.
You like the young
yeah.
one. And actually, we have something else in common. I taught 3rd grade for 3 years.
Oh, wow.
So I understand that impressionable age. And my daughter now, she teaches, well, she doesn't teach, she's a mediator at DC Public Schools for early childhood education. So I hear the stories every day when she comes home. So as you begin to dive into that field of education, how do you feel now with what's going on in our world today, that the children, do you see that it has impacted their lives from the homes and the neighborhoods and the communities that they're growing up with, whereas years ago when we went to school as little children, education was the key, was important, and parents came to PTA meetings. They got behind the communities in school. I'm hearing a lot of educators saying they don't see that now. The teachers are becoming the counselors. So what's going on in your classrooms and at your school and in your community?
Well, yeah, that's definitely been my experience. The teacher plays many roles. We're not just the educator anymore. We're the counselor, the nurse, the social worker.
Yes.
We work with the families. And, you know, it's a range. You do have some families who are very supportive. They're asking questions. They are supporting or reinforcing what the teachers are doing at home. They're reading the books. They're doing the homework. And I would like to see more of that. And I think as teachers, it's our responsibility to educate parents.
Yes.
First, we need to let them know that you have the right to advocate for your child. And that's actually a theme in the book, Mommy and My Pretty, that you have the right to ask questions and to intervene on behalf of your child. Because oftentimes children don't have much of a voice.
Right.
Okay, but we as the parents and as the adult, we can be the voice for our children.
That's true.
Yeah.
And you know, that leads me to an example. Yesterday, my daughter gave me an example of that. The little, and what a befitting topic today, because school just started back.
Yes.
And you see the parents standing at the bus stop. You know, it's deep with parents standing at the bus stop now. But as time go on, like you said, you do have parents, and we want to give kudos to those parents that are very supportive.
Yes.
I had a great set of parents when I was teaching 3rd grade, and I had a lot of support, but I had to initiate that.
Okay.
When they saw that I was open to allowing them to support me and to help me out, and I made a lot of them leaders in the classroom. I gave them something to do. One would do my bulletin board, one would plan my parties. You know, they became my advocates for the classroom, and the students that I had the greatest support from with the parents were some of my greatest students, because I had that parent support. But back to the example, my daughter says the little boy, like you says, they don't always have a voice. And the little boy was just crying, bawling his little eyes out, because it was his first day of school. He's 4 years old. He's never been in that world before.
It's a transition.
That's what I was going to ask you. How do you help for a parent that's watching out there for that little early age, and then we'll get into, you can segue into what made you write this book. How do you get that parent and that child to transition, to turn loose little Johnny on the first day of school, and that even though you see him bawling his or her little eyes out, how do you give that reassurance that it's going to be okay?
Okay. Well, first we have to let the parents know that we understand. You know, we understand that that's your baby, and you know, it's a little bit of it may be tough. You know, to sort of push them out of the nest and leave them with people that, you know, you may not know as well as you'd like to. So we understand it's a transition, and we understand you're upset and you need time to adjust, just like the child does. There are things that teachers can do to help ease that transition. You can send pictures, you know, because typically after about 5 or 10 minutes, the child's fine. That's been my experience as a teacher. You know, they're crying at first, but after about 10 minutes, they're fine. They're playing. They see that, you know what, this isn't so bad. You know, I see toys, and I see books, and I see other people my age, and this is a classroom for me, which is an early childhood classroom should be for the children.
Okay.
Everything should be at their eye level, and it should be bright and inviting and engaging. So after a few minutes, they're fine, but the parents don't know that because they've gone, and all they have in their mind is little Johnny, you're crying. Yeah. So sending pictures or even texting, as appropriate, letting the parent know that, they're fine now. Those are things that I did as a teacher.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what led into, or what experience did you have that led into the reason why you wrote Mommy, Am I Pretty? Like, was there something going on, or something you saw, or what really was the inspiration behind that title in that book?
Well, the book is sort of an extension of my dissertation studies, my PhD studies.
And tell us where you went to school.
I went to the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill.
Woo!
So Tar Heels.
Chapel Hill.
Yeah, Tar Heels.
Okay.
And my dissertation focused on the reasons why young children select certain books. Is it because of the story content? Is it because of the cultural representation? Why are they selecting certain books over others? And the two main reasons or explanations for book selections are the story content and the cultural representation. This person has hair like me. They speak like me.
Yes.
They live in a neighborhood that's similar to mine. My mommy dresses like that. My sister's hair
that identity.
looks, identity, yes. And so as I went further from my dissertation to being a professor and working with teachers and getting good quality books into classrooms, I was seeing that there was a lack of good quality books, but also representation for African American children. There's a lack, and so that's what I'm doing. I want to contribute to the pool of quality children's literature that focuses on, African American girls, African American boys, that shows our hair, our skin, our eyes, our culture, and that shows us in a positive light, being leaders, making decisions, interacting in a positive way with others.
That goes back to Brown versus Board of Education, that without having that understanding that that child kept picking up that doll that they liked, the Caucasian doll over the little dark-skinned doll, because that identity, there was a crisis there, and they were able to prove that. So how far do you feel that we have came since Brown versus Board of Education?
Well, I feel we've made progress,
okay.
But research tells us that less than 10% of children's books published each year focus on children of color, written by people of color.
Really?
Yes. So even though we've made progress, 10% is not representative of the population of people of color or children of color.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, well, you might be the one.
I hope so. I hope so. That's a drop in the bucket, and I hope to continue to.
So now tell us more about the content of this book. Again, viewers, if you're watching, I am here live in the studio with Dr. Beth Hawkins, the author of Mommy, Am I Pretty? That's a question. And as you just heard us say, it's also addressing the identity of African American children so that they can see someone just like them inside of a book, have some of the same issues, the same skin color, the hair. And I know that at the beginning when I says we're made in God's image and in God's likeness, we are. But the beautiful thing about it is God creates the rainbow. And there's a lot of us out there of different nationalities, different origin, different cultures and background. And it does not hurt to sometimes understand someone else's culture, someone else's nationality, because the saying is we are afraid of what we don't know. And sometimes we have to introduce who we are to other people. So I like the fact that this book not only helped our generation of children and grandchildren, nieces and nephews, but it also helped introduce others to who we are in a positive light. So tell me more about the content of what's in that book.
Well, one thing to piggyback off of what you just said about it shows other people somebody else's culture. That's what we call a window. It's a
Oh,
window
wow.
into somebody
Okay.
else's culture. So this book is for everyone, not just little black girls, but everybody. So you can see the experience of somebody else.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So how did you begin to write, and tell me how you came up with each chapter and the theme? Were there other experiences that started happening, or it was just coming as you was writing the book?
Well, the idea behind the book is, again, based off of my research that oftentimes children are in classrooms where they don't see anything that looks like them.
Yes.
They don't see themselves represented in the literature, the dolls and the toys, that are available to play with. They aren't represented in pictures and posters. And it may not be ill intent on the teacher's part. It may just be a matter of awareness and, knowing that everyone needs to see themselves, and not just
Okay.
themselves, but other people, so they can know, how people of different nationalities live, and, some of the experiences that they go through. So can I tell you about the book
Oh,
now?
absolutely.
Okay, so I'm not going to tell all of
Everything,
it.
yeah, because you got to buy the book.
Yeah, but it's about a little girl who is going into her classroom. She's a kindergartner, and it's her first day of school. And she's going into her classroom, and again, like I just said, she's not seeing much that looks like her. And she's wondering why all the dolls have blonde hair and not curly brown hair like hers.
Right.
And why all the posters have children with blue eyes or green eyes and not brown eyes like her. And she's going home every day asking her mother, "Mommy, am I pretty?" And you could substitute that question with a lot of other
Yes.
statements or questions like, "Mommy, am I normal? Mommy, should I look like that? Mommy, what's wrong with me that I don't see, a black baby doll or a book with a black family on the cover?" So she's going home asking her mother that, and her mother decides to come to the school to intervene. So again, that's that parent piece. We need to listen to our children. We need to talk to them.
Absolutely.
We need to ask what's going on at school. We shouldn't wait until report cards come or until somebody calls us. We need to go to the school and talk to our children and see what their experience is like. So the mom goes to the school and intervenes, and the teacher is very accepting and receptive of the mother's intervention. So that's sort of my book in a nutshell.
So the mom shouldn't go out there and start demanding, "Get these dolls out of here, and you better do this and do that." So what would be the proper etiquettes that you being a teacher, that a parent should, if something like that were to happen? And it doesn't have to be the doll. It can be sharing a toy, or it can be, the lunchbox. I mean, it can just be a number of things. What would be the proper etiquette? Because sometimes in our community,
Yes.
we're headstrong, because you mess with our children,
Yes.
that's like touching our eyes,
Yes.
the apple of our eye. It's sensitive.
Yes.
And we're ready to start World War III. So what would be the proper etiquette that you, coming from the teacher point of view and as a parent, that you would give that information out to the parent to show up at the school?
Well, one suggestion for the parent and the teacher is to establish a good relationship at the
Okay.
beginning of the year.
Okay. And how do we do that on the first day? Because this is my baby, 5 years old or 4 years old. I'm a new mom, first day of school. How do I build a rapport with you? I don't know you. I just met you for the first time. Or maybe I did come to back to school night or open house. But I just saw you and went, "Hi." How do I build a rapport with you?
Well, it's worth taking some time to come to the school to talk with the teacher, whether it's getting off early or going in late or taking half a day. But having some time to talk with it, because at the beginning of the school day and at the end, it's busy.
It's too much.
Yeah, it's a lot
Yeah.
going on. So even asking the teacher when is a good time,
I like that.
Yeah, or it could be a phone call, but having time to talk with the teacher and letting them know, like, I'm here to support you. I'm here,
Right.
because I want my child to be successful. I want you to be successful. How can I help? What can I do? If you ever need me, let me know. If you need anything, I'm here to help. I'm here to support. And it doesn't always have to be financial support. It could be emotional support, or just being an advocate, or doing things to let the let the teacher know that you're in their corner. Another thing that some people do is to offer to share things about their culture with the classroom, bringing in books from the home, or even bringing in food or instruments or things that represent the culture. So the teacher is aware, this is what we do at home. This is how we talk at home. These are some of our traditions. This is a window into my life.
Oh, I like that. That's even educating the teacher.
It is.
Because sometimes the teacher needs to be proactive when they have a diverse classroom. Teachers, if you're out there, you're listening to us, if you have a classroom and it's pretty diverse, of course, everything has to be done with the county permission, when you're doing things above the normal, and with permission from the principal, because every school district is different, every state is different. So when we're sharing this information with you, we also want you to realize you do everything decent and in order, okay? So we don't want you to jeopardize the county or the state rules or the principal rules to things, because especially in a private school. And then for some of you who are private school teachers, you may also realize that there's a different set of rules that you go by, because I worked at a private school when we taught third grade, and it was a little bit different. It was a private Christian school, so we could do some things that the regular public school could not do. So by all means, always check to see what the regulatory rules are at your school, in your district, because we want everyone to have a positive experience.
Yes.
Now tell me, as you got the idea of writing the book, what was it like when you were going off to publish it, and how did you publish your book and start your venture and go to your first book signing? Take us on that journey. What was that like?
Well, I actually wrote this book about 3 years ago.
Okay.
Yes, I wrote it. I had the inspiration, and I wrote it, and I kind of sat on it for a few years. So that's what I would like to tell people. If you have an idea, earlier you said something about a business or an invention or a program, that would help others. Don't sit on it. Move forward. Write that business plan. Go talk to people who can help you move forward with your vision. So after a few years, I started looking for publishers, and that's when I met Matthew Horn, and he has the lightning fast book publishing company.
Oh, you hear that? Put a little plug in for you, Matt.
Yeah, Matthew. Yeah,
Okay.
and so it took a while to get the illustrations and the book, in the form that I was comfortable with. He has a very good illustrator who's very patient, very understanding.
Okay.
And for books for young children are called picture books, because the illustrations and the pictures communicate the story and the meaning just as much as the words do. And some young children can't actually read the words, but they can read it based on the pictures. Yeah, so we wanted to make sure that those were great. And, we went to print, and I have done a few authors' talks. I've done a few book signings. One thing that I did last week that was really meaningful to me is I went to an elementary school in Forest City. It's called Forest City Dunbar School in Forest City. And I read to kindergartners and first graders. Yeah, and it was children of all nationalities. And I just want to say that I love all children. This book is for black girls, but I love all children.
Sure.
And I think all children deserve representation, but we have a pool of children, children of color, that don't have as much representation as others. And so that's why this book and many of my books to come will focus on that population of children. But yeah, we have boys and girls of all races in the audience.
So tell me what the experience was like when you were reading. What was the response from the children?
They noticed. Her hair's like mine, and
the little puffs.
Yeah,
Can you guys see the little puffs on there? Okay.
Yeah.
That's a famous hairstyle for little African American children.
Yes.
We put them little puffs on children. Or the Fabulous Five, a plait here, and two. One in the back, I call that the Fabulous Five.
Yes. And she does have different hairstyles in the book. Yeah, she has braids, and she has the two poofs and then one big poof on top. Yes.
Yeah, like this. See the poofs.
Yeah. So we wanted to represent all the hairstyles.
I like that.
Yeah, so the reading was, I feel it was successful because children of all races were noticing, you know, the differences, and they were asking questions, and they seemed to be supportive of, you know, she needs to see things that look like her as well as everybody else. So, and that was my first reading, so I think it went well.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And have you had any response back from people who've ordered the book after they've read it to their children? Give us an example of some feedback that you've received.
I've gotten lots of good feedback.
Lots of good feedback.
Yes. Some people have said their daughters, you know, they bought the book for their young African-American daughters, and they were saying that all through the book they were saying, just like me, Mommy, and, you know, she's got hair like me.
I love it.
Yeah. And another lady, she's a special ed professor down in Florida. She appreciated the fact that there's a child in a wheelchair in the book because, you know, again, we need to represent all populations, and that includes people with special needs.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
As you guys can see, we're going to go on a station break. We're going to come back. But if you have a niece, nephew, or you know someone, the holidays is coming up, this would be a great book. Stuffing,
stocking stuffer.
Yes. That's a word to say 3 times, tongue twister. Stuff this in the stocking. But this would be an excellent book, and put it in your child's classroom. Not only get 2 copies. 1 copy you want to keep for you, but a copy should go in your school of choice. A copy should go to your local library. And when we come back, Ms. Dawkins is going to tell us how you can invite her to possibly come read her story to a classroom, speak, or have her and interview her later on in the program. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Mommy, am I pretty?
You're watching the QETV Live show with your host, Mrs. H. Tune in at voxwave.com or call in at 240-719-2560. Again, that's 240-719-2560. We're located at 4711 Auth Place in Camp Springs, Maryland. Watch live the QETV Live show every Thursday from 1:30 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Would you like to be a guest on the QETV Live show with your host, Mrs. H? You may reach her at 240-353-3806. Again, that's 240-353-3806, or email QETVLive@gmail.com. The QETV Live show is bridging inspiration and information for everyday life.
Hi, welcome back to QETV Live show with your host, Miss H. Right before the break, we were discussing with Dr. Hawkins about Mommy, Am I Pretty? And you remember I told you we need to now answer that question. So back to you, Beth. How do you answer that in the book? Mommy, am I pretty? What is the answer to that question?
The answer is yes, of course.
All right. Okay.
Yes.
How do you answer that to a kid that is 5 years old or 8 years old or a tween, and they're crying and bawling their eyes out because someone called them ugly? How do you suggest, from a teacher's standpoint, how would you handle it in school? And then what would you recommend when the parent came, how to help the parent deal with it at home?
Well, I think a lot of it goes back to foundation. You know, from day one, letting your child know you're beautiful, your hair is beautiful, your skin is just right, your eyes are just right, that we're all different, and however you are made, like you said, we're fearfully and wonderfully made. Yes, so you are just the way you're supposed to be, and that's great.
Okay.
Okay. So if someone has been bullied, because I see that as a form of bullying, you just have to reinforce that, you know, you are beautiful. Everything you're doing is how you are is how it's supposed to be. You're a child of God. He doesn't make mistakes. And if other people can't see that or want to bully you, that's on them. But, you know, you're a child of God. You're my child. You're beautiful. And don't change yourself to fit anybody else's standards or to fit in anybody's box. Be who you are and be the best that you can be.
Have you ever had to encounter something on that nature in the classroom? And I know you can't give names or too much information because when you're dealing with children, everything has a privacy law.
Yes.
But have you ever had to deal with bullying at the age level?
I have, unfortunately. You know,
how did you handle it, and what was the type of bullying?
For any type of differences, you know, she doesn't have skin like mine, or she doesn't wear clothes like I wear, or her family doesn't look like mine. You know, small children can be wonderful, and then, you know, there can be some challenges.
So even at that early age,
yes,
they are noticing differences.
Oh, yes, they notice differences, and there can be cases of exclusion because of it. And especially when it comes to like special needs or intellectual or physical. But as a teacher, you have to address it. You know, don't be afraid to address bullying, because if you don't, what you're communicating is, I'm okay with what you're doing. So you have to address it, even if you don't get it right or if you don't know exactly what to do something. So you have to communicate that we're all different, and diversity is beautiful. Diversity is a spice of life.
I love it.
Yes, and you know, we look differently, we learn differently, we talk differently, but that's okay because that makes the world turn.
Oh, I love it.
Yes.
Now, have you had the opportunity to read your book to your class this year so far?
Well, right now I'm a professor. And
that's right.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Bring you up.
Yes, I work with university students.
You work with the university.
Yes.
Oh, and what is it like on that level? Because if you look at magazines, If you look at Hollywood and the entertainment industry, Mommy Am I Pretty goes to a different level.
Yes.
So let's go on. We got a few moments. Let's go to that level, because now you're in that arena, and I've noticed that a lot of times people are changing their images because of what they see on TV or what they see in a magazine. So it's not Mommy Am I Pretty. Now they're competing. It's competition to the point where it's surgically removed to alter and to be pretty. What recommendations now do you have for that?
Well, that's one thing that we often talk about in my classes is the standard of beauty, and how, in the United States, there are many people who don't fit inside the standard of beauty. It can be kind of small. So there are a lot of people who are excluded because of your color, how your hair looks, your size, your accent. So I would tell people to be confident in who you are. Be healthy, be well, but be confident in who you are. And if there are people who, want to bully you or want to exclude you because of how you look or how you talk or how you dress, then that's not your problem, that's theirs.
That's true.
Yes.
And I like that, because once you get up to that level, to that adult level, adults make different decisions than children. But I love the fact that it starts with the children. And I'm glad that you wrote a children piece.
Yes.
Because if we can catch it, parents, early, and build that confidence in our young ones early, when they get up to that high school and collegiate level and go out into the workforce, they're not being bullied by people who don't have confidence in themselves. And a lot of times, if you look at it, the reason why people bully other people, because they've been hurt themselves, and it boils down to they don't have the confidence they need, so they pick on someone that's less fortunate than them. But I am just so grateful that you started early in helping to build that foundation in young children. Now, you said you had another book. What is the other book that you have authored out there?
The other book is called Good Afternoon, Mirdita. Mirdita is Albanian. I worked for a little bit in the country of Albania. I worked with their early childhood schools, and I was seeing the same thing, lack of representation in the children's literature, Barbie books and Disney books, but not books that realistically reflected their life and their physical images and their hair, their eyes. So I wrote a book that has a storyline and illustrations that they can see themselves in. And so this book is also available on my website, in addition to Mommy Am I Pretty.
And what was the feedback like for that? Because I know that was an amazing opportunity for you.
It was. I wrote the book and worked with the publishing company and actually donated the book to orphanages and schools and group homes around the country. And I had the chance to go back around to some of those places, and the teachers were telling me that the students enjoyed reading, because the children didn't speak English, so the teachers were translating, and they told me that the children enjoyed reading the books, and they felt as if they had a book that
represented them
and they could identify with, whereas before that wasn't the case.
Wow.
Yeah.
I could see this thing going off into different diversity, picking up each of these different differences to help people and help children and adults see that regardless of how different you look or how different you came into the world, even with, I was listening to someone on the TV once, and they says, God gives grace to a parent to love a child when that child may have physical limitation or maybe was born with a different feature or something that's different from what we call perfect birth. But in that mom's eyes, God opens that mom's eyes and let them see nothing but perfection and beauty.
Yes.
And that's how that mom is able to love that child regardless of the difficulty or, like you says, the physical limitation or the mental limitation.
Yes.
So I can just see a world of books happening, an international flavor of books happening through your hands, that you may be the person to write those books. So keep writing, keep being inspiring us to learn how to share these stories with other children to build that confidence. But now tell us how we can get a hold of this book and your products and your upcoming events if you have any book signing. Tell us how to get a hold of you.
Okay, well, I have a website, BethCaraDawkins.com, and you can go to the website and look at my 2 books. You can order them. And if you leave me a message, if you write a message, I can autograph it to a certain person, a child, or even an adult. My contact information is there, so if you'd like me to come and do a reading, do a book talk, do a book signing, or be a part of some type of expo or community event, I'd be more than happy to do so.
And what is tell them your social media handle again.
Oh, yes. I have a Facebook authors page. It's Beth K. Dawkins, children's book author. So if you wouldn't mind, go and check it out and put a like on it. That's where I post pictures from the different events that I do, and I put up pictures, and I just I keep you informed about my books and my progress and what's coming out next, what I'm doing next. And I also have an Instagram page that I don't use as much, but I'm going to get better with it. It's Beth Cara 11. Beth Cara 11, and that's my Instagram.
Okay, and anywhere books are sold, they pretty much can order your book.
They can order, again, from my website. You can order from Amazon.
Okay.
It is in Busboys and Poets.
Oh, yes. Excellent.
Yes, it's in their bookstores.
Okay,
yes.
So you heard that from QETVLive show. Thank you so much, Beth, for coming on to be on the show, and we definitely want to have you back. But again, you heard her. You can go to her Facebook page, and you can order right off of her website, or you can go to Amazon. But, Mommy, am I pretty? Let's get this message out and help build confidence in our young nieces, nephews, grandchildren. Let's get it into the hands of our school teachers and our local library, anywhere that you feel that this book should be, to get this information out. Let's help spread the message. Yes, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. And I thank you again for viewing QETVLive show with your host, Mrs. H. I will see you next week. Love you.